Welcome to Two Girls, One Podium, the podcast where girl talk meets the finish line.
Join your hosts Millie and Jasmine, two besties with a passion for speed, sports, and spilling all the tea. Whether we're breaking down the latest race drama, fangirling over our favourite drivers, or just having a laugh about life behind the scenes, we're bringing you the ultimate mix of motorsport and girl power.
So grab your iced coffee, buckle up, and let's hit the track because here it's always full throttle and fabulous.
Hello to our 3 followers and welcome back to this week's Two Girls, One Podium. Let's jump straight in by talking about how boring the race was. Yeah, it was a classic Suzuka, pole to victory. There was a brief minute that McLaren gave us some hope. But they didn't pull through, which is disappointing for me. But on a positive note, it seems like Max might be back and fighting for his title. It did feel like that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so great start from Max. Obviously, no incidents on that start either, and sometimes Suzuka is known for that. But I guess no rain, no incident. But yeah, off the line, it looked like he got a really, really good start, better than Norris. They were both pointing in towards each other, trying to get into that line. But yeah, I think Max might be back. And again, I still question how much is car, how much is Max. It feels like it's mostly Max. But yeah, I'm. It's going to be interesting now because I think McLaren weren't expecting that. I don't think they were expecting to cover off Max, and they were expecting to cover off each other.
I mean, McLaren, last week we were talking about, like strategic decisions and when you think maybe a team hasn't made a great strategic decision, mostly being Ferrari this season. But McLaren today, in my opinion, they did not play that well. It was 2 against 1. And yet Max still came out on top, even though McLaren had the pace. To me, that was a couple of bad decisions actually on McLaren's part. There was no strategy behind it. It was just follow the leader, which seems absolutely bizarre. I think they also did the fake pit stop. So they pretended that they were gonna pit Lando, and they were like, box, 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 and then all the little men ran out to fake change the tires, and then they didn't. And I was like, but if you had off, then you could have caught Max quicker. The other thing that really annoyed me was that Lando said that he was conserving his tires and that he was just waiting to strike, and then just never did. It was like, maybe you didn't have the pace. What happened there?
But do you think he's done that because he knew he didn't have the pace, but he doesn't want Piastri to get those points? I think we're entering Norris's mind game era. And the reason I say that is after that pit stop that he did go in for, he went on the grass, which I don't think it was Max's fault at all there. I don't think Max should have yielded. He was on the line. He would have probably got a penalty if he had gone off the line. And yeah, obviously I think he's trying to play games. He's trying to step up. And I know I said I really want to see Lando with more grit, but he needs to be smarter. I don't think this is the grit that I was looking for because it didn't pay off. And those radio messages of, he's forced me off and I was alongside him. It's not a corner. This is the pit lane. And actually, technically, he could have got an unsafe release if the stewards decided that did look like it, because Max was technically out before him, even though the McLarens did a better pit stop. But yeah, I think Lando is trying to play some games. I wouldn't be surprised if that filters over between him and Piastri. But I agree with you. I think the McLaren team didn't make the call for them to switch, and maybe they wanted them to just race, but sometimes that doesn't work out, and I think today we saw that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, Oscar was really pushing for that switch. And I mean, I know there's only now 1 point between Max and Lando, I think. But the thing is, like, Oscar is really showing that he can drive that car, possibly even better than Lando so far this season. He's pushing hard. Oscar's definitely got grit this season. He is willing to fight. He's willing to push, and that's what he did at the end of the race. Just sadly, there wasn't enough time. There wasn't enough laps, and he probably could have gained on Max quicker than Lando was, but Lando wasn't willing to give it up. And again, if I was in Lando's position, I'm not criticizing him for what he's doing. I would probably have done the same. I'd want to win too. But you also have to remember it's a team sport, and you can't have it all, unfortunately.
No, but do you think, yeah, it's a team sport, but if they're getting a 2-3 anyway, maybe he thinks, well, technically we're not losing anything whether we switch it or not. So it's hard to say, but I do think we're seeing a change in Lando, and I don't know if it's for the better, and maybe he needs to find the right balance. But I agree with you. I think Oscar's got that steady head. He's quite cool and under pressure, and I think, I think we're going to see some McLaren problems. But then we thought that anyway, right? We talked about last year and how that went. I think we're seeing the same problems this year, and McLaren need to be more strict with their drivers in terms of what they're expecting of them, because you're going to get this back and forth, and they're going to pick whatever they feel like is going to work best for them.
I think again, yeah, so true. With the McLaren has to make the decision. Like, they can't leave it to Lando because he's gonna pick what's best for him. Obviously,
Exactly.
why would you not?
Got to be selfish.
They have to take control. And I know they said that Lando is the number one driver, but let's be honest, what's number one is coming first, regardless of who the number one driver is. So if they have to put Oscar there, then that is something that they're going to have to do. They're both in contracts with McLaren. Like, they both have, I'm sure, the same contract. I don't know how that works, whether they have to prioritize Lando because of the contract. Maybe that's why they're still doing it. I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, someone knows.
No, someone does know, but I do think McLaren just haven't yet figured out that I feel like they're trying to be too diplomatic, and I think that's going to become a problem, because diplomacy works if everyone's on board.
Yeah.
I don't think those drivers are on board. No. Norris probably felt a bit cheated last year in terms of letting Oscar win when he was technically fighting for that championship. Even though it came down to the wire, like, maybe those extra points could have done something for him. So I'm wondering if that's part of why he's feeling this way. But it does feel a little bit like unbalanced, toys out the pram a little bit. And I don't want to say that too much, because obviously it's high stakes. It always is high stakes, but yeah, it just seems a bit of an odd one at the moment from that team.
Yeah, the atmosphere seems different.
Yeah.
But you got two people fighting for championship, so the atmosphere is obviously going to be different.
Yeah, when the car's like that, I think it's to be expected, and I'm sure it won't be the last that we see of it. I'm sure there'll be some clashes. I just hope it, doesn't become toxic, because I always think that's really sad to see. So, yeah. Next race is going to be interesting.
Yes, well, hopefully more interesting than this race, because although there's a lot to talk about with, obviously, the Lawson and Yuki swap over, which we'll get to in a bit, the race was boring, but quite a lot has happened in the past 2 weeks. So, I mean, going back to Yuki, I was a little bit sad for him this race, because obviously it's his home race. And I think he could have done really well if he was in the car he was originally in at the beginning of this year. And I feel like he's been let down by Red Bull, by putting him in that seat. And he's not a bad driver. And again, he finished like, I don't even know
P12.
where he finished. 12.
He was P12, yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad for him. Like,
when he was getting P6s, P5s, yeah, it is sad. But I will say, he qualified well. He's clearly finding something in that car, and again, it's kind of, maybe it's first race in that car, trying to figure it out at your home race. Is that potentially going to be the problem? I think this is something that it's so hard to tell when the first time they get put in a new car, especially when we know that it's Max favours the way that it's built, right? And I do think that last the last race was Yuki trying to test stuff out where he was putting more on the nose. Obviously, it snapped his front wing, but I do wonder if he was thinking that he was going down this path anyway. But yeah, I think it would have been nice to see him in the V-Carb Hadja, because we're going to have to talk about it. I mean, he raced well. He ended up behind Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari, and yeah, could Yuki have been up there with him? Is Lawson now laughing? I mean, he didn't particularly perform well in this race, but again, if it's the first time you switched, should we be more lenient on that? I don't know. But at least for Yuki, I think the plus here that we can take away from this is he still scored higher than Lawson has all season so far. So he's clearly finding something. But yeah,
He's an experienced driver though.
mm-hmm.
So I'm not
You'd
surprised
expect
he's
it.
finding. Yeah, I'm not surprised he's finding more than Lawson. I mean, I don't know why on earth you would put a rookie in a car that has been designed for the best driver in the world.
I know.
To me, that's mind blowing. But again, like, I don't work in the sport. Clearly, I don't have that much knowledge on it. But I would have expected Yuki to, even for his first race, to have come higher than Lawson has, because Lawson is not brand new to the sport, obviously, but brand new to F1. I mean, he raced last year, actually, saying that, didn't he?
Yeah, a couple of races, but
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I
think
do
there's
think
a lot
he's
on
had
his shoulders.
I think he's had a bad run of luck, Lawson. I do. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he's had a fair shot at anything, to be honest. And I hope that he actually does get to have a good couple of races, because I do think he deserves it. And I think he's taken everything that's happened to him on the chin. And like, bless his heart, he's like a walking meme as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet has grabbed a hold of that. And like, of course, that's what comes with being a public figure, right? You have to be able to deal with those sorts of things, but he's still young. He's really young, and I do think that he's conducting himself relatively well, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, considering we thought he was a bit of a hothead, he's not responded that way with all of this pressure and stress on his shoulders. I am still annoyed at Red Bull. I don't think this should have happened this early on. He should have had more opportunity, but also, again, I just don't think Yuki should have taken the opportunity to move into the Red Bull. I understand why. It's kind of a catch-22 of don't go to Red Bull and then you may never get that seat, but go to Red Bull even though the car you were in was actually performing better. I don't think anyone's a winner in this case, aside from Max. He's the only one who's obviously a winner because he won today. But yeah, I don't think anyone is a winner outside of that in this situation between them. And yeah, I think it kind of just sucks. Actually,
Yeah.
if I'm being completely honest, because I really like Yuki and I really wanted him to be kind of doing really well.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I don't think he's gonna struggle, and maybe he'll surprise us and it will come along and the car will start to develop. But at the moment, I do think it's only Max that's finding something in that. I don't think it's back of the pack worthy, but if you think we can get that car up to P6 or something, I'll be really impressive over the next couple of races.
Yeah, I agree. But going back to the rookies though, there are a few rookie mentions for this race. Ollie Behrman, again, coming through strong in that Haas. Like, he is working hard, and I do think he deserves another really good mention, because I mean, for a rookie, he's landing mid-table, which is really impressive.
And he's
and the livery on the Haas.
Yeah, pretty, first of all, but he's outperforming Ocon.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
I've got a soft spot for Behrman. I think he's got a lot to come. And yeah, I just think, I want him to carry on as he is. He's clearly finding something in that Haas. And if he can get into the points, I'd be super, super pleased for him.
Yeah.
I'm still gutted he didn't get driver of the day last time.
I mean, I'm not really sure what's going on with driver of the day, but sorry, but Yuki should not. I know it's his home race. He should not have been driver of the day today. in my opinion, Albon should have been driver of the day. He was the only one who did some really good overtakes. He really pushed himself up through the table. And I mean, I know it's Sky, but Sky covered him for the majority of the race. It was either on Max, Lando, and Oscar, or it was on Albon. He did so good. I'm really disappointed that he didn't get driver of the day. I mean, that's who I voted for anyway. But
yeah, we love Albon though. We love Albon.
Yeah, okay, I have got
maybe we're biased, but no, I agree with you. And I think Albon is like on the radio, and I don't know. He seems to really be pushing that team, and like it is coming across quite aggressive. But I kind of like to see it because I mentioned before, don't hear anything about Albon. He's like, he just gets on with it. Not this season.
No.
He wants to make a name for himself, and do you know what? I'm here for it because Albon. I just think Albon is great, and I'd love to see him doing some great stuff in that Williams and really pushing it. But yeah, I think the driver of the day situation, it feels a bit too
forced.
Yeah, like fan heavy, right? Which duh, like they get to vote, but it feels like who they like the most.
But is there like a forum going on and everyone's like, right, this is who we're voting for? Because it came out of nowhere. And also, like, Kimi got it last race, and don't get me wrong, Kimi also drove very, very well this race as well. And he did drive well last race, but not driver of the day.
Not better than Behrman. He didn't drive better than Behrman. Yeah.
No, it just seemed a bit odd.
I think driver of the day is useless now.
Yeah,
it's like who do we feel sorry for the most?
Yeah,
it's a pity. It's a pity vote.
It's a pity trophy.
Yeah, and I don't like it. I don't like it. It's meant to be like who's grafted, who has done something that just didn't seem possible.
Yeah,
and there's always a scenario for that. One of the cars gets higher than you'd expect it to. Someone does a load of overtakes, or someone manages to get it back on track when everything was against them. But yeah, we're just voting for people we feel sorry for. Although saying that, maybe we would have voted for Lawson if that was the case. But I still feel like it does feel a little bit like a pity vote. And nothing against the different drivers getting driver of the day, because I'm not mad at that, because it used to be, the same top 3 rotations most of the time, and now nearly all the drivers are getting an opportunity. But yeah, it just feels a bit odd. Can't really make sense of it.
I mean, I know we only have like 3 people that watch us, but can we please collectively agree to actually vote for the driver who has driven the best, rather than who we feel sorry for that week or who we like that week?
Yeah, because... or who's prettiest, or who had the best outfit, because I'm for that, but can we have a different voting category?
Yeah, maybe there should just be another one.
Yeah, it's strange. And I say this as someone who doesn't even vote. I don't vote. Maybe we can't say anything.
Josh vote for me. Yeah, maybe we should actually be voting. That's really bad.
It'd just be Albon, everything, Albon. And then we'd just contradict ourselves. We'd be the ones who were like voting because of not pity, but because we got biased. But yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it?
It is odd.
I don't know what's going on with it, but it's all part of the joy of this sport, I guess. But you would obviously talk about rookies, and I wanted to mention Antonelli. At one point, he was leading the race.
I know, he was doing so well. I was like, come on,
I wanted him to beat George.
Honestly, I wanted him to beat everyone, to be honest.
Antonelli for winner, driver of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was scrolling on my phone the other day, and I don't bet at all, but for some reason, like, Ladbrokes came up, and it was like, Yuki Tsunoda 150-1 to come in first place. I was like, that's more of a meme than a bet at this point.
Yeah. You might as well just set fire to your money.
Yeah, I was like, no one's putting a bet on that.
If he was in the V carb, I would.
Would you?
But no, but it would be more likely, right?
I mean, more likely, yeah.
Hashtag not sponsored by Ladbrokes. Hashtag if you're betting, be safe. Just to throw it out there for our free followers, don't want anyone getting into debt for a sport. I think it's wild what they'll put up against with Yuki, just because it's currently kind of the number one topic, but
It
no, I
just,
would
yeah,
not
it
vote.
just felt a bit savage, to be honest. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, all right. But obviously going back to Yuki, it is his
Hmm.
home race. And the crowd looked amazing. I was so jealous. Did you see the mini me's?
No.
Oh my God, you didn't see the mini me's. Okay, so there were three, like, I would say they must have been 3 or 4 year olds. There were three of
Mm,
them, and one was dressed as Lando, one was dressed
cute.
as Leclerc, and the other one was dressed as Max. And they literally had the full suits and the helmets.
Oh,
Oh, they were adorable. You have to go
cute.
look up the mini me's if you guys haven't seen them. Cutest thing to come out of there, I tell you.
I have seen they've done them before, I think, like a few seasons back. I've seen a few. I don't know if they do it like each season, but yeah, I've seen them. They look tiny and
They're
cute,
little
but
tiny drivers.
yeah.
Adorable. And I'm not a fan of children, but that was cute.
Disclaimer, not a fan of children.
I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
yeah, that's
And there was
crazy.
also some really cool like homemade signs as well. Obviously I'm going to Silverstone in July. Yeah, I
Mm,
think it's July. I will not be that dedicated, but cool premise. Like, love
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm not getting up and making a cardboard sign for Monza when I go. I don't think
Could you
I'm only sat
imagine?
in a sea of red. I just don't want to annoy anyone and get kicked out of Italy and never be allowed to come back.
And it's just like dragging it through the fields that are most likely going to be wet.
Yeah,
No,
it's not for me. I'll just
no.
I'll wear my t-shirt and my hat. That's got to be
Yeah,
good enough.
yeah.
But yeah, it's incredible what people will take and like the effort that some people put in. There's a guy at Silverstone who always has the Ferrari hat. Like he wears a hat and it's like basically got a car. It's got one of the
What?
F1 cars on it.
No
And
way.
yeah, he walks around there. I mean, to be fair, he might go to every race, but I've seen him before. But I will say, when like last year I went to the race in Austin and they had people were making giant paper mache helmets. Crazy. Like the effort people will put into it.
Yeah.
Annoying as hell if it's in front of you. Just saying.
I'd be
But
mad.
like hats off to you. No pun intended.
Ah, there's the idiot there.
But yeah, it is really impressive what some of the fans will put in. And I've seen some people who like make their jackets and stuff and they just look really cool. But
Yeah.
I go to one race a year and when your driver switches teams, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered. If he was still at Mercedes, then it would have made sense because he was there for such a long time. But he's just recently gone to Ferrari, so
Yeah.
now I'm just like basic, basic stuff on top
Yeah,
of
I
that.
mean, in fairness, Ferrari have the nicest women's stuff out there at the
Mm,
moment, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not a massive Ferrari fan, so I won't be buying any of it. But the fashion they have compared to some of the other teams is definitely elite.
yeah, I mean you'd expect that though from kind of the country
Italians.
where a lot
Yeah.
of a lot of designer stuff comes from. I would
Yeah.
expect them to have good stuff, but yeah, it probably comes with the price tag. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just stick to creating our own F1 merch, shall
Yeah,
we?
I mean, yeah. So if you guys didn't know, we have created a couple of our own pieces. We will be showing them soon to you all, and then maybe getting your opinion, seeing if you like them. There's definitely a gap in the market, we think, for some cute F1 merch. Doesn't seem like anyone does it, really,
No.
other than a couple of people on Etsy. Um, which I think is really sad because 41% of the viewership now is female.
Hmm.
And it's hard enough to get a team shirt that's fitted. So, you
Yeah,
know,
we're looking at potentially plugging that gap, but for now we're just gonna wear it. But yeah, it's cute. It's cute what we've done, and I
yeah,
can't wait to play around with it a bit more.
yeah, excited to show you guys. All three of you.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be great. Okay, let's get back to the race because I think there's still a few more things to talk about.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up the cool down room, and I've got a question around whether Max and Norris's friendship will survive this season because it seemed like some commentary was made. Do you wanna share some more?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right? with the cool down room, just before the cool down room, we obviously saw them pull in and Max celebrated, which I was actually surprised at, but it is his first win of the year. So obviously he went through that stage where he was like, yeah, I've won again. Great for me. But I didn't see Lando and Max greet each other. And again, you don't see everything because like the camera can't cover all of it. So I kind of just swept that under the carpet and thought, oh, they probably did it, but the camera probably didn't capture it. Anyway, then we end up in the debriefing room or whatever you want to call it. And Max was like, oh, that's an expensive lawnmower. And I was like, oh, well, it is a very expensive lawnmower, that one. In regards to obviously their little kerfuffle coming out of the pit. And again, in my opinion, Lando was taking the piss and just trying to see if he could get something out of it, when in reality Max was completely within his rights to do what he did, and Lando was taking liabilities. But yeah, I think, you know, the thing is they go through these stages, right? In my opinion, they're both competing to be first, to be number one. They have a little tiff, they get over it. They have a little tiff. It's like your best friend, you know? Sometimes you're like, you're annoying me. And they're like, yeah, well, you're annoying me. And then you kind of come back together, because I do think, like, I think their friendship's built to last. I think, you know, they both have massive respect and admiration for one another. They just also irritate each other so much because they're both after the same thing. I don't know what your thoughts are.
It's really hard to say because I do not know them personally, and I really want to emphasize on that before I dive into my opinion, because it's quite probably strong. I feel like Lando is trying to be Max and it doesn't work. And the reason I say that is he's trying to, not necessarily, like, obviously I mentioned he's playing games, because I do think he is trying to look at alternative ways to gain an advantage, which I think all great drivers do. So I'm not, you know, it's not necessarily a negative. But I wonder if he's trying to get his elbows out a lot more, because that's how Max drives, right? We all know Max can be really aggressive. I don't think anyone denies that, except for maybe Max himself and Red Bull. But he is quite an aggressive driver when he needs to be, sometimes too far. And I wonder, is Norris looking at that going, okay, maybe I need to be more like that? There's just something about Norris that makes me feel like he doesn't know himself enough yet. And again, I don't know him personally, so this is probably a really wild take, and you know, I'm trying not to judge too much because we only see what we see. But it feels like he has spent so long in a car that wasn't performing, and now that it suddenly is, I don't feel like he knows what to do with that. The limelight that comes with the extra limelight, because obviously they already get the limelight, but the extra limelight, plus the fact that he's racing as one of his best friends, and then seeing how he drives in comparison to what's going on with how Norris is driving. And then if you look at commentary and stuff that's been made around other drivers, like when Lewis was fighting Max, some of the drivers in it, I wonder if he doesn't know himself enough, so it feels like he's just trying loads of different things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with experimenting, but I don't think that's going to work out for him. He needs to find his way and then stick with that. I don't know what that is yet, because like you look at Oscar, and again, he just comes across so really calm, and I don't think he is always calm, but he just, the way he presents himself, it's like he's confident in his abilities. And we've seen it last season. Lando was not confident. He took the blame for loads of stuff that was actually McLaren's fault. And I feel like he's trying not to do that so much this year, but I genuinely think there's an issue internally where he doesn't even know himself, or that confidence isn't where it needs to be. And I hate that for him, because he clearly can drive and he can clearly win. So yeah, like, again, do not know this guy personally, so I'm probably really way off base, but I just get that feeling that he's not quite found the way that he needs to be in order to make this work yet.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think there's probably some truth behind that. I think the other thing that makes it really complicated is that they're all PR trained, right? So
Yeah.
they have to be diplomatic to some extent, and that must be really difficult to try and articulate your feelings in a diplomatic way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I struggle to articulate my feelings generally, and then adding a layer of having to say it in the right way so that people don't take it in the wrong way. I mean, I think that's probably where he's losing himself, because he probably does know what he wants to do and how he wants to do it, but he probably can't because, you know, it doesn't fall in line with what he's been told he needs to be and what he's told he needs to do.
Yeah.
So he's probably having an internal battle with himself, like thinking, well, that's not fair, I don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, well, that's what McLaren wants to do, so
Yeah.
you're in contract with us.
How much do you think it has to play as well with his fan base? And the reason I ask is because
Massively.
outside of F1, Norris has got a massive fan base now, right? He basically branded himself, which most of the drivers are going to do. But obviously he built his clothing brand. He's got other brands that he's doing things with. I wonder how much of it is part of that of he wants to be the guy that everybody likes. And
Yeah,
it's really hard to do when you need to get your elbows out. And I think that's probably really tricky to do.
I was actually discussing this with Josh the other day because I saw this post online, and it was like he had just come out of a restaurant with a female, and like everyone's like, oh, it's his girlfriend. Oh, it's his girlfriend. I think that must be really annoying, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just want to go for dinner with a friend, like whether it's his girlfriend or not, what does it matter? Like, I do think the fan base can be quite cray cray.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand, you know, he is a good looking guy, like I get it. Um, but the fact is, the likelihood of him ever even meeting you, dating you, doesn't mean that you can have an opinion. You can't have an opinion on what he does in his daily life. He's just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very good driver, but at the end of the day, he's just a guy trying to live his life. Like, stop stalking him everywhere. It's
Yeah.
mental.
You put him in their place, Millie, because you know what? This is what's it called? It's a parasocial relationship, right? Where you feel more entitled to someone than you are, and you feel like
Mm-hmm.
you love them or whatever. I'm not saying that everyone loves him, but like it's that kind of you're closer to that person than you actually are because you've built it up in your head. They're putting him on a pedestal, and he's by no means the only one. Like this happens to any celebrity, anyone in the
Mm-hmm.
limelight. But I do think that there is a part of that. Like every part of his life is judged. If he's not smiling, oh, he's miserable. If he's smiling, oh, he's not taking it seriously. And all the drivers get this, but yeah, I think it is a bit wild. And I'm wondering how much that has to play into it because Lando's always been quite open. Like I've heard him on some other podcasts and stuff that he's done, you know, where he said he never had like a solid friendship base because he was basically driving and traveling throughout the years where you would normally make your longer term friends. And I do wonder how much this is playing a part, and I hate it for him. And I hope, like I said, I hope he finds that thing that hones him in, like to be driven towards, okay, this is who I am, this is how I want to go about it, and this is what I'm going to do. Obviously, weaving that into the confines of PR training and all of those things that you've got to do, although there are drivers who don't follow that. Max, Kimi, Raikkonen, he didn't care. He never wanted to answer anyone's questions. You know, like you've got people who do go away from that. I think it's harder where he's driving and the fact that he's British. We are that way to an extent. But yeah, I do think it's probably quite tough, and I'm hoping he figures it out because I wouldn't mind seeing him win a championship, and I think it would be sad to see Oscar win it first, just because of how much time Lando has sunk into that team and what he's given them. Obviously, taking nothing away from Oscar. I think he's a great driver, but yeah, I just think when you put that much effort in, it's tough to maybe not be considered the better driver. And I don't know what's going on, but maybe this part of the season is a bit of a fluke. I think the first part of the season is always a bit iffy. Like you never really know what's going to happen or what's going on. But that car can perform.
Yeah,
So it needs to find something.
there is no question about that. The
Mm-hmm.
car and the drivers can perform.
Yeah.
the the question this week was definitely strategy, in my opinion. Which, you know, like, everyone makes mistakes, and McLaren's strategy has been good for the first two races. So, I mean, maybe we'll just whittle it down to bad luck this race. Maybe they were waiting for something to happen. Like, quite a lot of them were waiting. I think Stroll, right at the bottom, was waiting for some sort of safety car, and it never came. So he decided to pit. Can't remember the exact way it happened, but yeah, it's just you can't just rely on those things all of the time. I mean, fair enough, giving it a shot, but especially because he was at the bottom of the table. But it definitely wouldn't have worked for the people higher up in the table.
No, and you mentioned an interesting point there around the safety car. I keep hearing this a lot of, oh, maybe they're waiting for a safety car. The strategy is, oh, if we get a safety car, stop. Like, I get that these cars, like, especially in the last couple of seasons, right, we've had a lot of crashes, in a lot of races. Why are we relying on an anomaly of something that could potentially happen when you've got the stats on stuff that is happening right now? Why are we not basing our strategy? Because you hear it a lot on some of these like team radios of, oh, if we have a safety car, well, you don't have a safety car, so what are you going to do if you don't have one? It concerns me that, you know, a lot of it is based on something that could happen, but it needs a certain stream of events to happen before that to happen.
I think some of them have to, though, because the car is just not there. So they're just preying on the downfall of the other teams to give them the advantage, because they don't have the speed, they don't have the grit. But saying that, I think, and I'm going to go confident on this, I think they didn't have all the stats this race because of Doohan's crash.
True.
So they had less time on the long runs to understand how the tyres performed under pressure, and therefore they didn't have the stats to be able to understand how the medium and the hard tyres were going to degrade, which is why, obviously, when they were changing, you saw half of them were on medium, half of them were on hard, because they were like, well, something's got to work. And it was colder today than it had been. Obviously, the grass was setting on fire 2 days ago. It was boiling, and today it was really cold. So really, it's completely different from the conditions that they were training under, for example. So I totally agree on the safety car being like, it's not a good out. But they definitely didn't have the statistics that they needed for today's race. And maybe that's why it was so boring, because nobody wanted to take the risk.
Yeah, and as well, they've recently resurfaced that track, I think, as well, which always, you know, changes things. And again, I think rain would have made a difference, but there was no rain. You know, I think
they were meant to have rain on lap 20, but it never came in. It just stayed overcast.
It seems crazy that we're kind of now like gone are the days of like, oh, we don't want rain. We want rain. Rain spices things up, and I'm kind of. It was a pretty boring race, but Doohan's crash on the qualifying or practice was pretty hefty. Glad he got out of that safely. I feel like he's having a bad run.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with him, and
in fairness, on that crash, it is easily done, from what I've been talking to. Sorry, that wasn't English. It's easily done from what I understand from the people I've been talking to. Because he had the DRS open, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't close
and he didn't have the downforce.
Yeah, and at the bottom of the car, because they've riding lower on those cars for this weekend because it's a new track. New surface. Sorry, it's kind of a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
you're not quick enough to hit that close. You're already pretty low, and then you've got other things going on. It happens. I don't think I'm not placing any blame on Doohan. I just think it's a hefty crash, and I think he's had a series of unfortunate events. That's what I will say, and I want to see him kind of settle in to the car and see what he can really do, because I feel like he's either got in the way or he's had some mistakes, whether they were the cars, or just the scenario. And I feel like I haven't quite yet got a read on who he is as a driver yet, and I'd like to see that. We never mentioned Bortoletto, though. We probably should. But there's nothing really going on.
There's nothing going on in the car, so the
No,
poor driver.
I know.
They have
No,
not brought, I'm sorry, they haven't brought a good car to the grid this year, and the
no.
problem is everyone else has. So
It's really obvious that it's
yeah,
bad.
it
Yeah,
is.
the only thing that I think he can take is that he's at least getting experience, which it sounds really condescending and I don't mean it that way, but like at least he is getting to experience F1 and he might not be in that seat forever. If he can do the best that he can, maybe there'll be an opportunity for him to really show himself because, again, we're not able to see what he's truly got because the car limits him. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they bring any upgrades and if it makes a difference to that car because so far I kind of forget about them.
Yeah, it's easy to forget about them. What's your prediction for next race, which is Bahrain?
So next race, I mean, Max is back. So do we go? I'm going to go Piastri, Max, George.
Nice. Okay.
What about you?
Nice. First of all, there's a much better than your last week because you had Lando, which okay, fair. Lewis
Could have happened.
and Bevan.
Love him.
Just
I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down.
So a better prediction for next week for sure. I think
Thank you for judging me.
Sorry.
That's a 5 out of 5 prediction.
I think I'm gonna go Lando, Max, George. Wait, is that yours?
No, I said Piastri, Max, George.
So okay, so we've gone for the different McLarens.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
What do we think is going to happen to the second McLaren driver?
I don't know. I've got bad feeling.
They're gonna crash on the first lap.
No, that would take them both out.
Not necessarily. One of them could get a puncture.
Yeah.
Or damage to the wing.
I don't wish this upon them. This is just my prediction.
No, of course. I was just interested to see what we think because we both dismissed one driver.
They can't just keep getting like double pole. Like that doesn't seem fair.
But yeah, that's our predictions. Our previous predictions, well, yours was better than mine, but we'll take it. I guess we should also cover driver of the day. I know obviously we kind of talked about that already, but go on, give us your...
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely Albon. He did some great overtakes. He was the only one that was actually interesting during the race. And much as I love Yuki, I'm really sorry. I'm not sure what that was about.
No,
I'm mad about
I agree.
How about you?
Yeah, Albon, same for me. I mean, he actually seemed to be having a completely different race to everybody else. Like his radio messages, it was a lot more like spicy and fiery, of demanding things and saying things. So yeah, I'll go for Albon.
I think we've put Albon as our driver of the day for all three.
We just need "We love Albon" signs at this point. Like, give me a t-shirt.
I'm gonna go stalk him, Jazz.
We love you. It was us like bashing all those people stalking Lando Norris, and Albon's gonna get a restraining order on us too. Oh, we're a mess. Oh, well, that was fun anyway. So Bahrain is coming up pretty quick, so that'll be another podcast for us. And let's hope it's a more interesting race than this one, because it is Snoozy Suzuki, I'm afraid. That's like Suzuka, not Suzuki. That's Suzuka. I wanted it to rhyme.
This episode.
Snooza Suzuka, there we go.
Yeah, Snooza Suzuka, that's... Well, everyone, thank you once again for joining us on Two Girls, One Podium. As always, you can join us on our socials. We've got Threads, TikTok, and Instagram. And may I add, we're hilarious. So most of it is memes. We'd love for you guys to come over and interact with us. If you have any questions that you want us to answer on the next podcast, please just drop in our inbox. Yeah, we'd love it.
Yeah. We'll see you next time then.
See you
Bye.
next time. Bye.